What is it like to have influence over the top 2,500 house buyers in the US? Stay tuned. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Note School TV, where every week we bring you an amazing guest. And guys, yeah, you've kind of got the picture here. We've got a pretty sharp guy with us today. So we'll introduce him in just a minute. Before we do, just ask a quick ask of you, right? Number one, make sure that you hit that like button so that we'll know that you guys are liking what we're bringing to you as far as content and guests every week. Number two, hit the subscribe button as well, right? Yep, just hit that so that you can be a part of Note School TV. And then number three, make sure and hit that bell notification. Yep, go ahead, hit it right now so that you will be notified when we go live. When? Every Wednesday at 11:05 a.m. Central Time. Keep those comments and those questions coming in. We love to have you guys bring those to us. It lets us know where you are and what you're doing out there in the marketplace. And so please keep those coming in. And to learn more about what we do at Note School, simply go to Note School TV or noteschool.com/TV. Again, noteschool.com/TV. We'd love to talk to you guys via phone, via email. Just get with us and let us know. Now, we are going to move to, well, what we do every week at this time, and we're going to move to the news, guys. So this week, and this is right from the Wall Street Journal, and so the Feds like to use a little bit of a different inflation calculator. We know that in June that inflation was at an all-time high. It was at 9.1. It was 8.6 the month before. In May, this is the personal consumption expenditure price index. And guys, as you can see right here, guess what? It is going up a bit. So we'll see this right here. As it's going up, we see that, wow, this is that whole thing from 1980. And if you guys remember, we've shown you time after time what was going on in 1980 when mortgage interest rates were around 18, 19% back then. That was certainly a full-blown recession. And we see that this index is continually going up. And by the way, this PCE index, as they call it, it does not include energy prices and food prices. So if you go, wow, well, that's come down a bit. It's right there at, around 5.5, 5.75. That does not contain that. So the next inflation numbers will come out August 10th for July. And so we'll see what goes on then, but we know they're pretty high. So last week, guys, I kind of feel like that the chair of the Fed, Jerome Powell, I kind of feel like we're best buds now. So I just call him Jay now. I do a lot of research into that. So oddly enough, as well as you all know, you couldn't have missed the news. The Fed went up another 75 basis points, 0.75% in the federal funds rate last Wednesday afternoon, in Jay's announcement. So we were looking at about 5.30%, which is down a little bit from 5.55 the week before. So guys, we fully get this. And here's the thing. There is going to be 3 more Fed meetings this year. There'll be September, November, and December. And so stay with us. We know what rates are going to do. And I'm going to let Eddie and our guest talk about this in just a few minutes. But yep, that's what rates are. But we know that this is just kind of a bleep in the system there. And by the way, these are based on the federal funds rate now. It's about 2.75%. And that's the inter-offering rates that the banks charge each other and the Fed charges the banks. So they're at 5.75. And then the 75 basis points would not have directly affected this number here. So, but we'll let you know what we think as far as in our interview here today. So with that, I want to bring on our, founder of Note School, our chief visionary officer, and my good friend, Mr. Eddie Speed.
Hey, Joe.
How are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, 5 by 5. We have a great guest today, longtime friend of mine and yours. And so, yeah.
We have an outstanding guest today. Yeah, I think, Joe, the short answer on mortgage rates is this. First of all, the Fed rate, which is what the Fed charges to banks, that isn't necessarily what mortgage rates are going to be. And people are a lot of real estate investors right now is like, hey, man, I told you so. Rates are going down and stuff. And I would say that the Wall Street firms, I feel safe in saying that the Wall Street firms realize that while there may be some rates are really driven by bond trades.
Right.
And so if somebody's sitting on a lot of dry cash and they just need to deploy the money, they may do it. And I'm told that that's really what is influencing it. There's a lot of other noise about a lot of other things. We have it on a very good authority that the trend in rates is going up and that this is a little bit of a false read. The good news is it probably will help people get some properties under contract. And the good news is if you are looking at doing something right now, I'm going to encourage you that might be a good day to do it. I'm not the bond trading expert, but I know some. Right. I actually do really know some. They're very influenced. And I feel like that what we're saying about rates trending up will be a truth. So, Joe, we have a great guest today.
We do.
This guy is, if they make a real deal in real estate investing, this guy's the real deal.
Yes, he is.
And old friend of yours and mine, and a guy that we truly respect. And I want to introduce you guys to Mr. Jerry Green.
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Jerry?
What's up, Eddie? What's up, Joe? Hey, great to see you guys.
Well, I don't know. I want to make sure that our audience knows, Jerry, that you are a mega seasoned real estate investor, but your footprint in this industry right now is just really amazing. Joe's opener to say, what if you influenced the top 2,500 real estate investors? And that almost sounds like that couldn't be true, except we know it's true. Yeah. And so we're honored to have you on today. We want to talk about the market. We want to talk about what you see and how you're trending for helping people reinvent themselves a little bit. And but first, I think, Jerry, we want to talk about, how did you go from a real estate investor to a CEO of your business where you're not deeply involved in operational things that your real estate business does?
Hey, and guys, I'm going to drop off. You two talk, and then I'll come back on in a bit. So,
all right, Joe.
I'll see you in a minute, Jerry.
Thanks. See you, buddy. Well, that's a great question on that, Eddie. I think a lot of that came from a lot of screw ups. I think about this. I started in the business in 1994. That's when I went actually full time into the business. And I think, just looking at how I went from that point of just being in what I call really being a deal chaser to being in a position where you could really build a true business out of this, and then elevate yourself to the point where you could really run it as a company and step out of the day-to-day operations. And that's something that went on a major journey on this side of things, Eddie. And I think one of the big things that I look at was, it came from many years of doing it the rough way, and then realizing that my biggest limitation on all this was me, and I was totally the bottleneck to all this, and that I had to start looking that basically this was not a true business model if I was doing everything myself. And I had to look and say, okay, what am I going to do? And I had to realize that real estate is nothing more. Really, that was kind of the eye-opening, was real estate is nothing more than a product. And that I had to look at building a business around that product with the right people, the right processes, overall operating system to move as much product as possible. And that's where the kind of the moment of truth came. And I realized that that's the game changer, man. That's the game changer. So,
well, I've alluded on this call many times that I've been involved in several high volume real estate masterminds, and that's how you and I really got to hang out together, knew of each other for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
People don't know this, but you and Joe actually used to teach classes together. Yeah, our Joe Varnadore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can't believe it. It's been a couple years ago, but
that was in the 90s or something, right?
Yeah, it was. Well, let's see. When was it? It was early 2000s. It was early 2000s. We were doing that. So I guess that's been like 19 years ago, Eddie, on that. So yeah, blows me away.
So I've been in masterminds, Jerry, and I've seen you really be like, you are so wired in and understanding operationally how to help these guys. Your specialty, I guess, now has become the negotiation strategies and, the influencing how you get your customers to do it. But you know how to do it all. And super honored that you're doing stuff with us and on the creative finance side. And we'll talk about that. But the one thing that's always impressed me, Jerry, is that you are ultimately a study of human nature. And I think that's really a high core competence of yours. And I wanted to talk about that because it leads up to how you got to what you really, like people are saying, how does he up 2,500 people? Well, it's because you're the owner now of the Real Estate Sales Academy, right? And you guys have literally, I mean, like, if you're in the top 1,000 house buyers, you're like, have I been a student of Real Estate Sales Academy? And I'm going to say virtually 100% of the people check yes in that blank. That's a pretty high impact, right?
I agree totally on that, Eddie.
So I want to talk about human nature. Like, what is it that we don't understand about human nature, and how does learning that help?
Well, I think that, human nature is, it's really understanding that is a foundational piece, especially when it comes to sales side of things. As we talk about, like on the Sales Academy, and then having that influence with so many investors that would affect their teams and the sellers and the lives of so many people. So what it goes back to is understanding really how the human mind really works. And I think that's the key component that we have to look at in all this is, and this is a perfect example of this, Eddie, just thinking about this here, is that most people try to do business with their clients from a perspective of a logical brain. And really where the need is in the emotional brain, okay? And in fact, the emotional brain is 11 million times more powerful than the logical brain. So that tells you a lot right there. So it tells you that people are making decisions more from the emotional side of things. So as we look at that, and especially when it comes to the sales side and to be able to work with sellers and help them make an impact on that side of things, that has to be our key focus, is the emotional side.
Man, that is, and obviously that's why we say that whether it's the top, literally, I don't feel like we're overstating the influence of the top 2,500 house buyers as one common thread. I think that's a true statement. One common thread. And that they've all been through the Real Estate Sales Academy training, like literally one common thread. They've all used other vendors, but that is the most common thread in the business. And when you make these top players understand this, this is what changed the effectiveness of them becoming a top guy in the business.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, look, I know that we've used it in our business years ago, and we adopted that as well. So what has been built out through the Sales Academy is really considered to be the gold standard when it comes to real estate investors sales training. And we were so very proud to be able to take it over and acquire the company this year. And I think that what people are going to see on that side of things, Eddie, is that we are just going to bring a whole nother level to the Sales Academy. And really, we kind of look at it as 2.0. So,
well, you always wonder, like behind the scenes, you wonder, like Eddie talks about his kids being in the business, his two sons and his son-in-law, right? He talks about that. And what common thread have I done with my three guys, that I'm the most interested in their success? Guess what they have to go to? They have to go to the Real Estate Sales Academy. Right. That if that didn't scream how we believe in it, and of course my whole team utilizes it. Jerry, got a lot of changes in the market.
Oh yes.
Let's talk about that.
Okay, cool.
So I kind of say this, I may be oversimplifying it, but not too much, hopefully. The house wholesaling business probably in February of this year, about 75 or 80% of all the houses were ultimately ending up in a Wall Street portfolio, right? You may not have been selling to a Wall Street firm, but you were probably selling to a company that were selling to the Wall Street firm, or you were selling directly. All of a sudden we look up today and there's essentially none of them left, right? Then we have this, what was FOMO last year seems to be the opposite this year. Fear of missing out last year means fear of buying this year, kind of so to speak, right? Consumer sentiment and all that stuff. You are highly connected with giant players in the business. What are they seeing, and what do they need to change?
Well, I think that, first of all, obviously like you said, when it comes to like the hedge funds and stuff like that, we've seen a major shift on that side of things, major shift on that. This is, I'll just give you a perfect example. So my team had a deal they were working, literally, this has been the last 3 or 4 weeks. And it was with our open door. So, and
they were in the news recently, right?
Yes. Absolutely. So we took a deal to them on things. So the preliminary number was about $360 for this deal, what they would pay for it. Okay. And within about 3 weeks, it went down to $300. So $60,000 drop on that in basically 3-week time frame. Same deal. Okay. So obviously that tells you something right there. That's a big shift on numbers there. But I think that also what we've seen a lot of them too is that we just seen across the board, so many of them backing out of deals, walking away from earnest deposits, and just letting us know that they're not buying anymore right now, or just changing the landscape completely when it comes to that. So so that's a big component there on that side of things, Eddie. And West
Coast is seeing it more at the moment, Jerry, than the East Coast.
Oh yeah. I think with us being mainly in the Midwest here on things, we even saw that the one I just described to you is basically right in our backyard. Okay, yeah. So we're seeing it really everywhere on things, but it's something that's very, very common that we're seeing more and more. And I think that, it's funny on this because so many real estate investors, especially in the wholesale space, I kind of look at them like what I call like the flash in the pan. Okay. Is what they do is they come out, they jump into the business, and they're all over social media and they're looking bad, man. They're looking cool and everything else. And they're just killing it because they're selling all the stuff to hedge funds. Well, I always tell people that typically that's not about the skills. It's about the market, and the market was driving all that, and it made you look damn good. Okay. But when that stuff goes away, then what has to happen, Eddie, is we got to then get our boots out, get our gloves on. We got to go to work.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people like that don't know how to go to work.
I was on a podcast interview this past week with a long seasoned guy like you and I. And, when the tape went off, as you know, how it works, right? You'll end up visiting for a little bit, kind of when you stop being live, right? And we were offline. And I said, I fully accept the fact that of all of these biggest amount of house buyers ever in the business, a lot of them aren't going to be note school students because, the market's going to make them change and they're just going to sort of resist it. You and I had this conversation, like we're all fired up about creative financing. We're fired up about this being part of the business.
Absolutely.
First of all, because we've done it before and we understand it. And it's always easier to embrace something once you've experienced it in the past. It's kind of like riding a bike for us, and I don't know how you feel, and we want to know how you feel, but I feel like if a guy can't add creative financing to his business in the next 3 years, it's going to be very difficult for him to make it.
I agree with you on that. I think that's a big component of that. I think what we have to look at on this side of things is one of the big things that we push to the Sales Academy. And obviously, now, especially now, Eddie, with us working together between Note School and the Sales Academy side of things, is that you guys have to start looking at this totally different. Now's the time to start looking at it more and more. And that is, what I believe to be, to me, the top thing you want to look at is become what I call a deal engineer. Okay. Focus on that side of things. Because a lot of people, we train, especially a lot of big teams, what they do is, and this, Eddie, they train them, they get a bunch of people in the funnel, and they're just like, really, they're just numbers people. Boom, 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 putting out a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah. And the key, though, really what it comes down to is how do you go in a position where now when you're talking to clients, you can go in and now you can start approaching your sellers through the thinking of programs. How do I go in and work programs? And how do I take a seller from one position to another position to another position? Then you're in you are then in a position yourself when you're working towards solutions. You're focusing on different programs to be able to help your sellers out, maximize the ability for you to convert more deals, take deals that you would never have been able to buy otherwise. And so many teams won't do this, won't make the shift on that, to use the, more of the creative financing side of things. And now we can start taking deals where we can work, I know that one of the big things we talk about is taking, hobbyist type landlords that are in tax situations, and be able to buy their property on creative financing and not have them worry about all the capital gains tax and stuff, because that's one of the big reasons a lot of them are saying, whoa, I don't want to sell. I don't want to get all this recapture on things. Well, if you can show somebody how that is possible, then it changes the game, because you're in a position now where you become the unique person. You become that deal engineer where other people are just throwing out offers. You're creating solutions. And that's who's going to win as this market changes.
You were talking about emotions, and I've had this conversation with you. I want to be clear. The audience is like, this guy is the master. This guy is the master of the negotiation at the kitchen table. I mean, you are. And, you know, there's the unspoken objection and the spoken objection. Usually, guys like you, Jerry, tell me the spoken objection is price. The unspoken objection is what's really bothering them, which is something like a tax strategy. So how do you get into that? How do you dig into that wound with a customer?
Yeah, that's great, Eddie. You're exactly right on that. I think that, the really price should become more, you'll find by doing this, and this is one of the big things we teach at the Academy, is price becomes more secondary on things. Okay. And I mean, you think about it, the proof is in some simple things like this. I mean, you think about this, Eddie. I mean, is there, and I know this is the case for me and probably a lot of viewers, but just ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one is that, do you drive the car you drive now? Is there probably a cheaper one you could drive?
Yeah.
Okay. The house you live in, is there a cheaper house you could probably live in? Absolutely. Okay. So, and then even thinking down to the coffee you drink, is there probably a cheaper coffee that you could drink? And the answer is yes, pretty well to all those. So what it's saying right there in just those statements, from coffee clear up to a house, to a car, big purchases, what we're saying right there is price is not the main influence. What it comes down is the emotional side of things is making the big influence on that. Okay. And that's the big component when it comes to that, Eddie. And that's where we've got to really focus in on that side of things, because then it goes into these people that are dealing with situations where they're maybe behind on payments. Maybe they're in a position where they have all this equity and they're worried about the tax implications and stuff like that on things. What we got to do is figure out how to relieve their stress and focus in on these things, because that's the key. Okay. The key is taking it to that point on things. And it's amazing what happens when you really do that. You'll be surprised. It was funny. I just done a training on this. And this is one interesting thing, Eddie, was I took one part of our sales process and I said, if you just mastered this one portion of things, and let's say that you're a sales rep on an acquisitions team, and this is a small team, say, and let's say you made 100 offers over a year, and you just mastered this one piece. Proven over time, we've proven that this one piece, mastering it, can increase your conversions by 25%. That's 25 more deals. Okay, think about that. Now, incorporate that with the creative financing. Just think of what level you can take that to at that point, Eddie. Okay, yeah. It's huge.
So, guys, here's what Jerry and I have done. We've always had this high respect for each other. I'm the deal architect. I mean, I've looked at 300,000 or 400,000 seller finance notes. I mean, probably nobody in the industry has ever looked at more. And so I've seen I've developed strategies about how to structure these deals. And then what Jerry does in bringing his audience and letting Note School help them is Jerry helps perfect the communication. Like there's a lot of different ways to structure deals. And so we've kind of married that together. I think it's maybe the coolest project I've ever gotten to do. And I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful to have such a great scientist of human behavior, understanding, because Jerry, what happens if they do nothing?
That's it. If they do nothing,
if you're looking at helping people, what happens if they do nothing?
If they do nothing, nothing changes for them. I mean, it's pretty simple in that they're going to deal with the same thing. And it's, and what I always look at on this too is, people are, obviously we know that people are very funny about a lot of this stuff. And what I think what's interesting about this, Joe, or excuse me, Eddie, on this is that most of these sellers would consider something if we would just bring it out to them.
Exactly. And that's where we have to get people comfortable. How to position an offer. They're always going to want more than they'll end up taking.
Absolutely.
Right? On the terms, they always want something, and we see it over and over. Joe, I want you to zip us up. Jerry, this has been really fun.
Well, I likewise, Eddie. There's Joe.
I want you to say say a statement that you said again here, and you were talking about the logical side versus the emotional side. I want to make sure that everybody got that. So something about 11 million. Say that again.
Yeah, that actually it's proven, Joe, that the emotional brain is 11 million times more powerful than the logical side of the brain. And basically, if you look at that, the logical side of the brain is not capable of making big decisions.
I'm writing this down, by the way, Jerry. So.
By the way, I happen to know this. The Sales Academy goes through the science and explains this. This isn't just Jerry just saying it.
I just been pulling out my butt.
It's a proven scientific fact. And now what Jerry and the Sales Academy team does is they show you how to actually implement that. And of course, we're excited about being part of Creative Offers and adding those to the deal. Jerry, you're a good dude. You're a great husband. You're a great father. You can see my bookcase behind me there. And if you look, I think one rung down, there's a wooden flag on that bookcase.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that was made by your son.
Yep. That was made by Kendall. So.
And very, very beautifully done. High school young man that made it really just like really talented young man. And you just impressed me. And in many ways in that regard. And it's one thing to say you have an expert, but it's another thing to say you had an expert on the show that is an all around great guy. And Jerry Green, you're that. And I thank you for being with us.
Oh, I thank you guys. I appreciate that. And I totally feel the same way, guys. And this honored our relationship. So thank you so much.
All right, guys. Well, thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Eddie. I'll wrap us up and send us home here. So, guys, I've as Jerry said, I've known him for almost 20 years, and what Eddie said is exactly true. And we look forward to our relationship with the Real Estate Sales Academy and Jerry's company. Real deal, real guy, and amazing, talented, right? Always thought that, Jerry, right? So, guys, thanks so much for being with us today. More questions or information about what we do at Note School, simply go to noteschool.com/TV, noteschool.com/TV. And as we always say, we will see you on the other side. Thanks so much.